are waiting. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Grace of Mind. Welcome to the Grace of Mind by Ramneet. I am Ramneet Kaur, psychologist, life conflicts related to relationships. And so, I am waiting for some participants to join in the live chat so that we can go ahead and answer a few more questions, create some views about the concepts of relationships and relationship conflicts, and talk more in detail about what relationships are and how we can deal with any conflicts that occur in our routine lives in our relationships. I would want to focus on some key aspects which are important for relationships. So, one is effective listening. In order to be successful in your relationship, be it any kind of relationship, you have to focus on effective listening skills. Unless you focus on listening skills, whatever you speak is going to have no end result, because you speak and your partner listens. But when you want your partner to speak, yet you do not have the ability to listen peacefully and entertain what your partner wants you to know, you will not be able to actually give him or her the attention he or she requires. And often it is not about just wanting to have a reason, a solution to any of your problems or concerns, but also it is important and needful of a person to be heard. So many a times you would have your day which has been extremely good or not extremely good. So you want your partner to view his or her situation into a greater picture and know what happened. So you just have to listen to it peacefully and let your partner feel that he or she is heard and see how it creates a difference. We recently conducted a relationship conflict management webinar on the grace of mind. And there again, we had similar concerns and similar issues being raised, that one partner keeps on blurting out and speaking, the other has to keep on listening. When does an argument arise? So now the argument arises when one is speaking, but the other one is not willing to listen peacefully. When the other one is not willing to listen peacefully, the one who's speaking might end up not speaking at all or feeling hurt and getting more emotional than the situation would require. Or maybe the situation might not be seeming that strong earlier, but now it has become so intense that one partner who wanted to be heard ends up crying or ends up shouting at the peak of her voice or his voice. So that is something which is to be avoided, and that can only and be avoided when you try to listen peacefully, cater to the needs of your partners while listening him or her effectively, and only giving solutions or pieces of advice when your partner asks for the same, and see how it helps you. It will definitely improve your way of living. So this is one effective strategy of focusing on your relationships. Hello, Yuvraj. I am entertaining any and all questions related to your relationships in your personal lives, your emotional relationships, your family relationships, or work life relationships, those of your own friends and siblings and relatives. Any situation, any question which comes up to your mind and you would want it to be answered, you can simply write it in the chat box and I'll be taking it up through the session. The next important strategy is giving each other the time and work importance which is required. So you have to take out some time where only you and your partner is involved in doing anything. It could be a smaller activity, it could be one that is time consuming, but you are together in it. So you not only come to know the traits, characteristics, behavior patterns of your partner, but also at the very same time spend a quality moment with each other, which strengthens your bonds and lets you realize what went wrong, what could go wrong, what are the strategies you could implement in the future, and so on. In a research, it has been found that those relationships wherein a husband and a wife are working and they have a young child hardly spend 35 minutes total in a week to talk to each other, and that was only about the errands in the house. It could be about asking for food, it could be about doing a certain task. That's it. So 35 minutes, which means 5 minutes in a day throughout the week, that may lead to a gap in communication, create a huge distance between two people, which is a big no no, because accepted that your child needs you, accepted that you have lesser time, you have to pay attention to your work, you have to do the errands in the house, yet you and your partner need you self equally, not only 5 minutes of minute conversations. So wherever a communication gap is created, the conflicts start to arise. So argument is not only where you people are speaking, but also where there is zero communication or a communication gap, which also leads to misunderstandings. So if you do not communicate to your partner that you have to go for a day long meeting and you might end up returning home after dinner, you have not communicated, your partner is ready with the dinner, it could be he or it could be she, and the partner is waiting back home for dinner. Because you did not communicate, he or she is panicking about where you are and why did you not return back home, or having 10,000 thoughts, which is a human process. When we or our needs or our expectations are not met, we tend to overthink. We tend to think of things which are not natural, which are probable to occur but have not occurred. We think over them. And again, it leads to the vicious cycle of creating thoughts, then going into reactions, then going into the very same situation, then going into deeper thoughts, having a communication gap, having distance between the two people, and so on. Hello, Mr. Dilpreet. Any questions, and all questions are welcome. Please put in any questions you have related to relationship issues, which could be those of your friends, which could be those of your own lives, and anybody. So, this was the communication gap. We are only talking about the listening part, the speaking part, the communication and conversations part, because the major conflicts arise here. Unless you speak, unless you talk, unless you create a communication problem, lesser problems are there which arise. Now, being a person who's specializing in mindfulness based therapies, I would recommend, why not indulge into a mindfulness practice at least once throughout the week? And if it is in a greater frequency, even better and even more effective. Start writing a journal, sitting together with your partner about what occurred throughout the week, which was good. Where did you feel the best moment passed? Where you feel something went wrong and you could work about it? How you could work about it? Also, indulge into smaller yoga practices, which means you indulge into a yoga practice which is for 5 minutes. Simple breathing exercises. Focusing on your breath during the breathing makes you mindful. So, breathe in slowly and gradually. Focus on how you breathe in. Bring about your focus only on your breath, the way you're breathing in and the way you're breathing out. And when you do so, you would realize that slowly and gradually you will become more aware of your breath. Your breath may seem to you something which is magical because you're not only breathing in, but as you focus on your breathing, you may feel relaxed and calm and eventually more composed. And when this happens, your mind tends to release good hormones, the happy hormones. And when you are happy, you actually end up reacting good. So the negative thought pattern is zeroed down, and your reactions again are the fruitful and the positive ones. There is a question. I want to know can I balance my personal and professional life relationships? This is a very nice question and very common with many individuals. So, individuals face issues where they are not able to balance their work life and professional life, and they bring about their energies which might be carried away from their work fronts into their relationships. For example, I had a bad day and I do not know why it was so. Yet, in the end of the day, I communicate to my partner, starting off peacefully, ending up that you are the cause of this problem. You are the reason why I had a bad day. I had so many things to do. I did not have time to give you. Even if your partner is not acting like he or she wants time, you show and you portray that the time was asked but you were not able to give and you do not have any time to give to your partner. Your professional areas stress is coming in there. Again, the mindfulness exercises, the meditation practices, which could not probably always involve you to get into deeper conscious or unconscious sense or subconscious minds. Usually, when you meditate, when you focus on something, you get deeper into your consciousness, and then you awake and realize that you were a better person now. Practicing mindfulness practices, exercises, which are many, which are like journal writing, focusing on your thoughts, focusing on your breath, eating mindfully, walking mindfully, reading mindfully. Mindfulness can be done anywhere, anytime, in any activity. It is something which is consciously done with non judgment and being fully aware of whatever you are doing. Again, hence, it may not need that you specially sit down in one place and only focus on mindfulness exercises. So, it is one fruitful exercise which would keep you little more aware about your relationships, more aware about yourselves. When you're more aware about yourselves, you would be aware about your moods and what is impacting your mood, when it is the right time to speak to your partner, because now your mood might not be affecting the other person. And at a given point of time, your mood may be affecting another person. So that balance has to be created. So when you've done with your work, you've come back from work, you're finished with your service tasks and everything related to profession, whether or not, you just have to shut it down. You have to shut your mind off from the business, off from your jobs, because only then are you going to able to focus on any other thing. If you keep in mind that this is the task which is pending, I need to do it, you'll always keep talking about the very same. Unless you and your partner are sharing the same concerns of the same or similar works, you better talk less about your work, taking it into a stressful pattern of relationships. Of course, sharing is necessary, and hence, you in a relationship talk about your work patterns, you talk about your daily activities with your partner, share them, learn from them, make your partner learn something from them, implement good decisions out of them, and likewise. But carrying it in to your bedroom is a big no no. Also, in good practices, it is said never carry your work to your bedroom. So, you need to have a designated area only for your work premises, because that means your bedroom is only for good talks, good activities. You spend good, cheerful time together. You do not talk about work. You do not let the work front stress come into your room. And if so does not happen, the atmosphere, the aura of your room would always sustain that ways. How to overcome trust issues in the relationship? Trust is one major root and the root surface of any relationship. Having the people's skills is a good way to live and successfully deal with a relationship, in any relationship for that matter. Even if you want to be friends with an individual and you say that I trust you or you can trust me, I am a responsible individual, what would that be proved with? You need to make sure that your partner is able to trust you. That only happens when there is nothing which you cover or leash under something. So you have to unleash the truths, you have to speak the truth, you have to be your own genuine selves. If you try to portray a different selves and in reality are a different person altogether, sooner or later your partner would approach to that non-real self of you and know that this is not the person I was looking after or seeing for so long. And in such a scenario, there tend to be trust issues because your partner would now either start spying or being skeptical about any decisions you make, anything you do, and anything you share and say. To defeat these trust issues, if there are in any relationships, you need to begin to share things with your partner that would make her or him believe that yes, my partner shares everything with me and I can trust her or him. This is one place where you can start off. Spend more time with your partner whenever possible. Go out for a movie, get into movies at home itself, get into reading habits, get cooking together, get playing a game together, do the cleaning of the entire house together or a designated area together. So, wherever you do tasks together, you tend to release more positive and negative energies. You tend to speak more about yourselves. And hence, there is a greater possibility of increasing the level of trust you both share. Share about your own self, share about your hobbies, your practices, your malpractices, everything. So when you talk to your partner, you do not only talk about good things, you also talk about the negative things. Because that is what we really are, the real selves. Ms. Gunjan Sharma has mentioned, do you, can you please throw light on what you're wanting to say, Ms. Gunjan? So that I can take up anything you want me to. I can take up that question, I can take up that concerned area. Okay. So meanwhile, I'm waiting for Ms. Gunjan to give in her reply. Hello, Ms. Gunjan. How are you? I hope you're all doing good, having good time staying back home. You may share any of the conflicts that you're facing, Ms. Gunjan. We are here to answer all of your queries and questions. Sure, please go ahead. If you can either throw a simple word or statement which could define your problem with your partner. In the current scenario, in my perspective, I would share some views uh, when you're facing conflicts with your partner. But if at all, Ms. Gunjan, you can take any example, any simple example, it would be helpful for me to explain you more and you to relate it more to your situation. So, due to the current scenario, the conflicts are arising. The reason being, many individuals were earlier going off to work and returning back in a stipulated duration of time. So, the partners knew that this person would return back home or I would return back home. And this is an environment which has been sustaining and would be created when I return back home, or when there is this dinner time or tea time or whatever, whenever you've done with your work. And then you have a small gossip session, chit chat session, sometimes spent together eating, and so on. But now, since mostly individuals are home, they're in the comfort zones of your homes, working back from home, people are just staying inside their rooms, working not only from 8 to 6 or 8 to 5 or 9 to 5, 9 to 6, whatever is the time duration for so many different people. Different people have different time zones. Problem arises when one individual is only focusing on their work and they forget that there is a life besides this work zone too. And when there is a life besides this work zone too, when you realize that, you also know that I need to communicate, I need to do activities to save my relationship. Conflicts arise because two people are not communicating. When you have a lack of communication, lot many things go haywire. So if we grasp from the gist of what I've been talking all this while, what is important is the communication, listening effectively, building trust, spending time with each other. And wherever there is a communication problem, whenever there is argument, whenever there is lack of understanding, when you are with an individual, with a friend, your family members, your relationship spouses, you know, and you should know what the other person understands, what language the other person understands in terms of relationships, what the other person's needs are. You eventually understand, but you need to understand that eventually. Because if you don't, if you keep on dragging on your relationships, your conflicts also arise with due time if you do not focus on the needs of the other person. Only one person focusing on in what is the need of the other one and catering to those leads to one feeling aloof, feeling away, feeling in a trouble, stuck together in a relationship. And that is something which arises to conflicts. There are two partners who are working, they have a child who's studying and having online classes. So the partners who are having work online also need to be clear about each other that this is the times I am working and this is the time you are working. In between, we also need to cater to the needs of our child. So a stipulated time needs to be taken out again. If you do not communicate about that, would the time be taken out? No. Would there be stipulated time which in you're giving energy to your own partner? No. So, it's a vicious circle of so many activities taking place. You have a situation occurring, then you have a response given to that, then you have another response coming on that. You react to it over again. And when the same reaction keeps on repeating, the vicious cycle of responses, of reactions, negatives and positives keep on repeating, keep on repeating. And there the conflicts arise. The conflicts increase and come to a never ending story where there is no resolution because people do not talk about it. That this is a problem I am facing. Let us sit and talk about it. So, sitting to talk about anything good and anything bad, taking due feedback from your partner, praising your partner, and getting appraisals in different durations of time. How I went about it. Did I do good? I felt like you could have done it better in this way. All of these things, not focusing on the you statements, because of you it happened. You were late and I kept waiting. I had to wait and I felt insecure waiting. Is a better statement. Because then you make the other person feel that, yes, I had to keep my wife waiting and this is not very secure scenario. I would try and return earlier the next time. So when you remove the you specific statements and focus on the I, the perception in the mind of the other person changes. And when that perception changes, conflicts slowly zero down. Hi, Danya Zabeen. How can one make his parents listen to him when they have made a perception that their child is worthless? And due to this, there are always conflicts in their house. So the parents do not listen to the child because they have made a perception in that child that their child is worthless. So let me make this thing very clear. Parents are the well wishers. They have brought us to this world, they want the good for us. They would not make you feel worthless. They will never ever think that their child is worthless. And the conflicts could not be because of that solely, that they think their child is worthless, but rather because they want the child to grow up and become a wise, a better human being. A better human being, do something of his or her capabilities. And because the parents want that for their child, the conflicts are quite natural to occur. The conflicts can definitely be stopped. Hello, Mr. Ravi Dubey. The conflicts can be stopped by communicating to your parents at different timings, different situations. Dad, see this I did, where you know that one particular activity or achievement is what your father would like. He would praise you for that. And see, he might be all praises. For some people, they do not directly show their emotions in the very given moment, and which is okay. We can wait for their expressions, right? To remove conflicts, you need to be the peaceful one. You need to listen to them peacefully. You need to let them speak when they do, and look for the right moment to speak up and show that, see, this is what I am worth. So when now a person is not trying to understand himself too, you need to actually either find out his plus points and tell him that these are the plus points in him and he can work on them, or you can also make this person talk to a life coach. I am a life coach, and you can reach out to me for one on one sessions, because individuals always have positives and negatives, which we call strengths and weaknesses. An individual may have his strengths which he or she is not aware of. Hello, Mr. Gaurav. So, when a person is not aware of what his strengths are, he would not portray any of them either. Therefore, the parents again would not realize that this is what my child is capable of doing. And that leads to a lot of frustration. When this leads to a lot of frustration, parents do end up shouting, getting irritated, not speaking politely, speaking in the wrong manner, or showing those words and phrases of distrust, and that the child is not worth doing anything actually, which is not the reality. Even a person with intellectual disability is capable of doing a lot, and we as psychologists help them come out with their best characteristics and best possible ways of doing a different thing, maybe not something very natural for them to do, but something which is not natural for us as normal human beings to do. Any individual who's emotionally intelligent might not be intelligent on the IQ, and an individual having a good IQ might not have the best emotional intelligent level. Mr. Ravi Dubey says, I hope Danya Zabeen, I have been able to answer your question. Seriously, if you still feel that this person needs more assistance and more help in finding out what are the good traits of him or her, we can discuss more about it. You can discuss to me in one on one sessions too. The arguments become very much healed up every time, which ends up heating up every time, which ends up creating a huge gap between them, and they don't talk to each other for days. Mr. Ravi, I'll be coming to your question next. Meanwhile, I'm just completing with Ms. Danya's question. So, yes, the arguments are likely to heat up when both the parents are speaking and the child is speaking. The only solution to this is the child should abstain speaking, because when you are actually talking against about or uh, treated with ill words, ill attitudes, you do not act towards it normally. But you have to know, you have to realize and think once that they are your parents. Only your parents have the ability to listen to you as your own dear people. But if you speak to them against what they say, in the very same way they speak about you in aggression or frustration because they're worried about their child's life, it leads to heated up arguments. It would end up into a communication gap for days and months too, at times. There are places where children do not talk to their parents for many months because of the heated arguments, because they're not able to prove themselves and the parents are not able to see what their child is capable of. Tell me one thing, when will your parents be able to see what you're capable of? When you show a small effort of yours to them, only then is when your parents are able to see that. And so the child has to adapt the strategy of trying and being quiet and look for the very right moment to speak to his or her parents. So whenever the argument is over and the child has quietly bared their argument, let him wait for the right time. Let him wait for his parents to cool down. No individual would stay with a higher temperament all the while. And once the temperaments cool down, you're free to talk. You just talk, you put in front the perfect points you think you can, and half the situation is resolved. Then you have to work on yourselves only. You have to work on your positivities, your strengths, and show it up to your parents. Hello, Mr. Rakesh. I'll be coming back to your question once I answer Mr. Ravi's question. So, Mr. Ravi says, I'm not able to gel well with my partner from last 6 months. How can I ask her to end our relationship peacefully? Mr. Ravi, I would just want you to clear in the chat box if you could, whether it is a married or unmarried relationship. Also, if you are not able to gel up with your partner for a period of 6 months, which is okay, it can happen with anyone. You might not find the other person suitable match for you. And it is very okay to say no to a relationship. You could simply communicate to your partner that, hey, I have been trying to connect myself with you, but somehow there isn't a really strong bond, or I do not feel a sense of strong attachment or a self of strong sense which in I could relate to you as my partner for life. Hence, in order to be in the right tracks, I would like to end this relationship, and we could remain friends if at all you would want to, and if at all your partner would want to. In some cases, see, it could turn adverse since your partner may not want you to be friends, but only as a partner. It could be for you also, you might not want that person to be there in your life continuing as a friend. So it is okay. It is either way is okay. You can just try and communicate very calmly and peacefully. And of course, there will be reactions. Your partner could cry, your partner could not feel good, your partner could have adverse reactions. In in intense emotions and in situations which become worse, you can always reach out to a life coach or a therapist to talk to and seek the best advice time to time basis, because these situations do become a little complex. I hope I've been able to answer Mr. Ravi. If you want to drop in more comments, you please could that. Mr. Rakesh says that feeling very low in these pandemic times, very low energy. Okay. And hello, Miss Jasneet Kalra. Gaurav, Mr. Gaurav, I'll just come back to your question, okay? Okay, so Mr. Rakesh, it is very normal to feel low in energy because we are almost having uh, minimum to no exercise back home. Some of us are practicing healthy exercises, some of them are practicing good food habits and getting indulged into aerobics and yoga back home also, which is not possible for everyone to do because not all of us are geniuses at exercises and following the fitness regimes or following a fitness instructor, which makes it quite normal to feel low. It makes you feel more lazy because you know that you have either nothing or very little to do. Maybe also because you are not indulging as much into activities as you much before. Meanwhile, you're not focusing on doing anything productive because you do not push yourself and get out of that zone. The energy is already low, it would continue to be low. So Mr. Rakesh says that this is against human nature, that man cannot live always in the house. In outside moments, fear is always there. Absolutely, the fear is always there. And you know, this also impacts relationships at large. When you have a constant fear of going out, but you are an outward person, you are a very social individual, it becomes difficult for you to stay inside the house and control your temperaments and control your emotions, which may be causing harm to your own self. So rather than controlling, I suggest we cannot go out, but some things which we could go out and do, why not try and do them back home? For instance, if you could go out for a movie, try watching a different movie back home. We've got so many privileges these days. We've got all those platforms where we can watch different movies, different series. Movies are being released online. Let's try do that. Let's try getting the party zones at home itself by playing a good music system at home, getting good food created and eating that and sharing that with our families and partners. Because when you try and push yourself, create an imagination that this is what I will do. I will create popcorns and I will watch this movie and we'll sit for 2.5 hours and then we'll have dinner, we'll have lunch. You know, then it creates a zeal of doing certain things, then it creates in you the energy of doing it, and then you would feel that when the energy comes, gradually it also passes. This is also very difficult to control emotions or situations. Yes, it is difficult to control emotions or situations, and we recommend do not just control your emotions, let them come, focus on those emotions and try to let them go off. Because if you are controlling an angry emotion, sooner or later it would be coming out of you. You will be blurting out with, in fact, a greater intensity than you have that emotion for once. Situations too can be out of control, but again, I understand that we are in a difficult situation. The pandemic has made it even more difficult for everyone to control themselves, and controlling is something which takes on a greater level of motivation for you to do. So, controlling is not everything that we want. We also want that we all try to bring about our focuses on doing different things so that we better not need to control emotions but we could work on them. For example, if I want to be little enthusiastic when my mentor is talking to me and instead I'm angry when she talks to me, we have techniques that we feel enthusiastic rather than feeling angry, and for that we have a very small exercise which we can do. If time pertains, I will help you all know that one small activity, and otherwise we can take personal sessions and teach you about that one strategy wherein you can replace your emotions rather than controlling them, so your emotions would not impact your personal lives and personal relationships. So goes for the situation. So a difficult situation might become easier for you to sustain. Mr. Rakesh, I hope I have been able to solve your query. If at all you still have any questions or doubts, you can reach out to me for personal sessions on Instagram, on my email ID, or you can comment here on the YouTube channel as well. Now I would come back to Mr. Gaurav's question. My family doesn't support me in any decisions, let it be personal or professional, which leads up to many conflicts. How I can resolve it? Okay. So when your family is not supportive in your decisions, be it your personal decisions, be it your professional decisions, it would lead to conflict, which is very natural, because when there are two conflicting approaches, I say I want an ice cream and my partner says I want a chocolate. Both of them are not available at one place but different places. A smaller conflict or a huge conflict would arise. So in this situation, a small conflict should be there wherein we need to decide which shop to go to first, or whether if we can only go to one shop, which one should it be. But here, when it comes to major decisions, be it personal and professional, you might have a different opinion, and your parents, being most likely, I'm assuming, because I do not uh, know actually, that your parents might be of a different era. So when there are two different perspectives of one and two different eras, there is a possibility of conflict. And in order to resolve these conflicts, you need to just try tactfully and very logically explain to your parents what decision you're making and why you're making. Moreover, you need to make them trust you, trust your instincts, and trust your decisions. That dad, see, this is what I have been doing, and this is the result I have been getting all this while. I assume that it should help me in the near future, and it definitely will. Once your father and your mother, once your family trusts you, that you have been making the right choices, the chances of conflicts would reduce, because your parents definitely would give you a chance to make your own choice and go ahead, and they would want to see whether or not you succeed, because they do not want their family member to be into trouble. Hence, there come the conflicts, that they try to avoid something which they think is not right for you. I hope I've been able to answer. If you still want any suggestions and helps, let me know in the chat box. And you can also connect to me personally, okay? All of you could connect to me personally for one-to-one sessions. The first sessions are always a free consultation, and next we charge. Depending upon the situation. Anusha Kamath, hello. Is it okay to feel distant from a partner who doesn't live with you during the lockdown? Yes, it is okay to feel distant from a partner if he or she does not live with you, because probably now you are focusing on different activities of your own choices in your own different location, and so is your partner. And again, if you have a communication gap, of course, you cannot keep on talking to your partner 24/7 when he is away from you. It is okay. It is perfectly okay to feel distant. But then you need to also find out strategies and ways, or some activities wherein you and your partner are more involved, being distant at the same time. So you could just involve yourselves into more of video calls, telephonic conversations, just have a movie watch together by sharing a multiple screen. So just these activities to cut down on that distance and communicate. So in 3 days, there could be one day where you share what all you had done in the past few days. In one week, there could be a day where you share that this is what I did and what did you do. Share feedbacks about each other. So, creating the communication as a bridge between the two of you could shorten up that distance. Mr. Rakesh, ma'am, can you differentiate between phobia, depression, and so-called OCD? Mr. Rakesh, I would take up this in probably the further live sessions, because these are quite in-depth topics and cannot be discussed over here in a shorter duration of time. I would definitely talk about them in the coming live seminars. And you could also reach out to my page on the Instagram, The Grace of Mind by Ramneet, where I keep talking about these things. You're welcome, Mr. Rakesh. Dipankar Sharma says, hey, hello, Dipankar, Mr. Dipankar, I'm very sorry. Anusha Kamath, do we wait to meet and decide, or should we end the relationship because of conflict faced during these times? Well, again, this is a personal choice, Anusha. You need to analyze what all has been good in your relationship and what all needs to be worked on. If you think things cannot be worked on at all, then you could think about ending. But before that, please analyze how long you've been together, what is your future goal, and if you could work upon it, if you think there is a pattern to work upon it. Again, seeking help at the right time is important. So you could speak to any of your wiser individuals. You could speak to me on personal session, and we could discuss in detail about what the conflicts are and what can be done to improve your relationship, or whatever is your goal and what you want to do. We can talk about it in detail. You could also meet to meet, but if meeting is one thing, I am saying that you could talk over a video call. I hope that answers you, Ms. Anusha. Uh, Mr. Jasneet Kalra, my relationship with my husband is on stake due to trust and loyalty issues. How can we try to sustain our bond? Mr. Sneeth, I just talked about having a build of trust. Trust is something really important in any relationship. If you at any point would have not told your partner about something, and the series or the vicious cycle of these things being hidden, the important concerns being not talked about with your partner, might have piled up somewhere. So there's a history of sequences which happen, and then there comes to be loyalty issues and trust issues. And why do you think that there is a loyalty and trust issue? These all things need to be focused on in detail, talked on in detail. We do that in relationship counseling sessions. You can reach out to me for that, because you can of course sustain your bond by sharing more with your partner. You share everything you do with your partner, which is of importance or concern to your partner. Because when you're there and you've been in a relationship for so long, in a marital relationship, especially you married, perhaps because there was a deep understanding. Somewhere, if the understanding is coming to a halt, try and figure out why. Was there ever a time where you spoke something which was ill and it piled up, or maybe some sequences you did not tell your partner about, or maybe you are not giving each other enough time and talking about each other with your own selves, which becomes important. Keeping yourself calm at the same time is a high necessity, so that you are able to communicate in the right way. I hope I've been able to I answer Mr. Sneeth. If not, you can still reach out to me. You can email me as well. Mr. Rakesh Kumar says, what's your email ID, or can we call you? Mr. Rakesh, I will drop in the chat box my email ID and my Instagram page, so that you can all reach out to me. V-call is only possible once we book some sessions with you. So the sessions are booked, and it depends on your need whether we need a video call session or a telecounseling session. Mr. Pradeep Singh Keer, hello. He says that after 20 years of marriage, I don't feel as if I am given that much importance. How can I work on it? Okay, so I would like to ask you one thing. Is it that you think you are not given much importance in your relationship, or there is something which makes you feel, has it been verbalized by your partner that now you are not anymore important to me? It's been 20 years. 20 years are a huge period of time. At times, we mistakenly just read the minds of our partners, and which is not practically possible. So if I think that my partner is thinking ill about me, it might not be the truth. Maybe he or she is involved in some other important thinking, and I am only taking it as I am not being thought good about. Being given due importance or much importance at this point of time, just talk to your partner peacefully. Am I the same for you as I was 20 years back? Am I of the same importance? And if you're noticing any behavior patterns which are making you feel that you're not any more important, ask your partner. Why is this happening these days? Can we try and modify this so that there is some more communication, some more time spent together, so that we know what we want to work on. It's only been 20 years, and we can work upon being more important to each other or showing each other more love and affection. I hope I have been able to answer, Mr. Pradeep. You can also ask me any more questions and reach out to me on my personal sessions. You're most welcome, Anusha. You're most welcome, Mr. Yogi Gupta. I would just drop in my email ID here so that you can all instantly reach out to me. It is there in the chat box. It would also be soon found in the description on my YouTube channel. So this is my email ID, and you can reach out to me on Instagram page as well with this username. Just in case you want to directly go on to my page now, I can just drop in the link too. Mr. Hemant, hello. He says that after my past relationship, I'm scared that where I'll be cheated, and I keep thinking about it all the time, and it makes me feel difficult. It is quite natural for you to happen, Mr. Hemant. I understand that solely. See, past relationship experience might have scared you. You only learn from your past experiences. So, my piece of advice for you would be take a lesson from what happened in your past rather than just thinking that your future and your present might also be influenced by your past. Because when you take a lesson and do not repeat the very same mistake, do not get involved with the same kind of individual, you chose a person better, you chose the right things to do with your partner, there is a lesser possibility of past being interferent character in your present relationship. You can also work on your past relationship issues which are still bothering you emotionally if they are letting you go into deeper, intense emotions emotionally and scaring you even more than they should. So, if it is interfering in your daily routine lives and dysfunctioning your relationship at present, then you should probably reach out to a life coach or a therapist, and you can reach out to me for personal sessions then. But otherwise, I would just recommend you, if you were cheated in the past, any other individual who comes in your life in future may not be the same. So just choose your partner wisely. Give yourself and your partner, then going to be partner, some time with each other before coming to conclude that yes, we can be in a long-term relationship. So there are various factors. You need to have people skills. You need to have effective listening. You need to be understanding. There needs to be a strong bond of trust between you and your partner. Whether or not your traits match with each other, whether or not your thought patterns are quite similar, depends, and that makes you choose the right partner too. I hope I have been able to give you some help, Mr. Hemant. Mr. Yogi, I'm on the verge of getting married. What are suggestions of being in a healthy relationship? Okay, so in the end, I would just come back to all those suggestions that I've been offering. Mr. Hemant, I'm not able to trust the present partner now. It's becoming difficult for us now. Okay, Mr. Hemant, I would just drop in a piece of advice. You can take on a personal session and connect with me, and your partner can also connect with me. I can conduct a premarital counseling session for both of you. Or maybe a counseling session for both of you as partners, which will help you both understand each other, and primarily you, since you're not able to trust, which is quite understood since you had a past experience wherein you were cheated. So it is okay. You would try to trust your partner by cutting down on those parameters which you had earlier in your relationship. So let those be away. Clear your mind with the thoughts which you had in your past relationship, whatever impact there has been on you. Mr. Yogi, I am on the verge of getting married. Okay, so being in a healthy relationship, it is important to listen to your partner effectively. It is important to be loyal to your partner. Important to have some time spent only with your partner effectively. Have a series of giving feedback to each other. When you give each other feedback, then you know what you're landing wrong in and what your partner is landing wrong in and where you need to work upon. Then do not focus on statements specifying you, but focus on I statements. Do not play the blame game on your partner, and do not say that, yes, you did it wrong. Okay, this happened wrong. Could you please check about it? Is the right way to speak. Also, think about what other ways can you both mutually improve your relationship in a healthy relationship. Communication is good. You have to be communicative. Cap has not to be brought. Listening is more important than anywhere. You have to be mindful about your own selves primarily. So when you know who you are, how you behave in a certain situation, when you make that clear, your relationship automatically would land up in the perfect sailing port. Obviously, everything in life is not perfect, and most things are not perfect, even if you try to make them. But let's work towards a healthier relationship, a healthier bonding, and this is what we can do. There are many more things we can do. You can also go back and watch my relationship management conflict management webinar, which I posted a few days ago. I hope I've been able to answer the queries of all of you. If there are any more questions, if you want, I hope Mr. Hemant have been able to solve your query. And since it is becoming difficult for you, as you suggest, you can reach out to me. Feel free to reach out to me on my Instagram, on my Facebook page, on my email ID. And here I am posting my Instagram link where you can find me. And that's it for today. I hope I've been able to resolve all the queries and answer all of you people. Looking forward to the next sessions. The Grace of Mind hosts a webinar every Sunday, and a live session will be hosted every Wednesday, almost the same time every week. You're most welcome, Mr. Yogi. Any of you and your friends and your families and anyone you know who needs any kind of assistance, be it related to relationships, be it related to personal life issues, be it cognitive like phobias, depression, anxiety, stress, OCD, any query. I'm specializing in mindfulness based therapies, and you can feel free to reach out to me. You're most welcome, Mr. Hemant. How important is intimacy in one year relationship? Miss Anusha Kamat, depends on what kind of relationship you are in. And most important is understanding and having a good communication, as far as I would want to suggest here. Intimacy is certainly an important part, but depends what kind of relationship you are in. In a premarital relationship, well, I think if you are in a serious premarital relationship, you should wait for you should wait to get married. I hope I've been able to answer. You can still reach on to me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, or my email ID. Till the next week, see you all. Take care. Stay safe. Stay home. Try to stay mindful and follow me. Subscribe this page for updates and the new videos which I'll be uploading. And like, share. So just like, share, and subscribe. Take care. Bye bye.